Hello everyone and welcome to GUTV. Today our special guests will be Kevin Warwick and David Hansen. Both of these men see new direction for our future. In the new future, both of you see robots or potentially even cyborgs. Hansen, we'll start with you. Why do you think robots is the best way for our future?
Robots are inevitable. There will be super genius machines that will be empathetic and serve as almost family members. Robots can help everyone, and soon people will be so familiar with these machines no one will remember them to be robots.
Are you even nervous at all that these robots may potentially take our jobs and put humans out of work?
The robots are not going to be put on this earth to compete. I do not want to replace humans. Robots are here to make things better for them. These robots will be able to do things humans cannot. They will be able to find cures for disease and stop pain and suffering.
Are you considering what will happen if one of these robots isn't like that and maybe turn the opposite direction and do things non-ethical?
The robots I am currently creating, such as Jules, are raised on good morals and values. They know right from wrong and will be able to make the correct decisions. These robots are like children. If you raise them right, they will turn out fine.
I disagree with that statement. Robots are absolutely nothing like us humans.
These robots will have a fully functioning brain and will have facial expressions and emotions just like any other human being.
But they are still not humans. For me, humans make mistakes. They have a heart and mind and a physical body, along with an aging process. They have instincts, genetics, and biological processes. Your robots are not like us.
Please explain your view on robots and what you see in the future.
As I just said, they are not human-based. Therefore, they will not have the same ethics, morals, and values that us humans have. That means our views will be different and we will clash because of it. With cyborgs, we don't have to be worried that robots are going to take our jobs. We're just improving ourselves.
What's so wrong with the human race now that you want to change it?
It is no question that technology in our future will be advancing at a rapid pace. New inventions are going to be made and brought to life. The real danger is that super genius machines will start to overpower us and or them situation. In order to compete, we need to improve our normal functioning abilities. We humans will be able to solve problems of today's world ourselves and not have to rely on robots to do it for us.
I trust my robots more than I would trust a human with a chip in their arm to make the right decisions.
Yes, Warwick. What would happen if a chip would get into the wrong hands?
There's still a lot of ethical questions regarding chips and tracking devices that I have made. There was one situation where a lady had asked me if I could make a tracking device for her child who has been kidnapped. I told her yes, however I had to stop the project due to emails from other people saying that is not ethical. However, these projects that I am working on will be improved in the future and will be more reliable than super genius machines possibly taking over.
I heard about your chip that you implant in your arm. Is it true that it can be used for telecommunication? Would brain-to-brain communication be better for us?
Yes, telecommunications would improve our daily lives and speed processes up tremendously. Today we use this slow, almost ridiculous process called speech, which we're doing right now. By having telecommunications, we will be better, more efficient communicators.
Do you really want someone in your brain all the time?
I mean, I don't really look at it that way, and I don't see it as an inconvenience. I look at this as a breakthrough, an opportunity to improve our communication. This will only help us as humans.
So both of you agree that in order to compete in our future, robots or cyborgs are the way to go, and these events will be happening very soon in our future?
Yes, robots are in our very near future. Jules is already complete. Once we improve the last finishing touches on him, more robots will be coming along soon.
I also agree in the sense that technology is growing in the near future and robots will be made. In order to compete, we will need to take technology head-on and merge man to machine to become cyborgs.
Well, thank you both for coming in and talking today. I'm looking forward to the advancing technology that we will be witnessing very soon in our future. I appreciate your time and responses. Next, we are going to talk to Plato and Locke. Plato and Locke are coming in very soon. This should certainly be an interesting discussion, considering just how some differences on ideas that they both have. Let's get right down to an important question here soon, once the two arrive. And it looks as though they are coming in shortly here. Hello, Plato. Thank you for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Locke, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So, according to each of you, how does a person go about attaining knowledge? Plato, we will start with you.
Well, thank you for having me here today and for giving such a thought-provoking question. Before I give my answer, let me just say that as a master of the writing style of dialogues, I shall have no problem in besting my colleague here, Mr. Locke, in our own dialogue soon to come. To your question, quite simply, the way we attain true knowledge is a process of recollection or reflection. Each of us has an immortal soul that exists in the realm of true knowledge long before we were given a body. Knowing this information, I believe that we all have some knowledge within our minds that is independent of our senses and experience. The best way to attain knowledge of true reality is to give the rational part of our soul complete control over the rational part of the soul, which will lead you to a life of reason.
Well, that certainly is an interesting perception to that question. Locke, what do you think of what Plato had just said? And do you have your own opinion on how a person is able to attain true knowledge?
Well, thank you for having me here today, and let me just say that I completely and utterly disagree with just about everything Plato has just said. I completely respect Plato and much of the work he has done, but I believe he is simply wrong on this question. My friend Plato here would have us all believe that our minds are similar to a notebook that is full of information. He believes that if we ponder or recollect long enough, we will be able to find the solution to any problem simply using our reason alone. I, unlike Plato here, believe that all knowledge originally comes from our sensory experience. When we are all born, I believe that our minds are similar to a blank piece of paper, and that we do not start off with any ideas that are independent of our life experiences. Sensory experience itself is the base of all of our ideas, and I believe that this is proof of an external material world that exists beyond simply our thoughts and ideas.
Well, that certainly is a different way of looking at that question. Plato, do you have any response to what Mr. Locke had just said?
Well, I can respond by simply reaffirming my position, since it's quite clear that we have taken our own position on the issue, and both of us would say we are not very open to changing our minds on that matter. Locke would have us believe that anything and everything we know has come from sensory experience. I believe that our senses can easily deceive us, and that humanity can grasp true knowledge through the use of reasoning with the rational part of the soul. Locke has essentially blended perceiving with the senses and knowing with the mind into one process, whereas I believe that these two processes are kept separate as they each have a different goal in mind.
Plato, I think I would have to agree with you in that we probably will not be able to change each other's minds on this matter. You are probably one of the most famous rationalists ever to exist, whereas myself, I was known as an empiricist during my lifetime. However, after listening to what you had to say, there's perhaps a small bit of this matter that we can come to an agreement on. You mentioned in your previous dialogue that true knowledge can be obtained through recollection or reflection on the rational part of the soul. I think that this process of reflection can be very beneficial, and I have incorporated this into my own ideas. I call the mind's power to do this introspection, where it reflects upon ideas given to us by our senses. Sometimes this reflection process can lead us to attain knowledge that we did not know previously. All we have to do is reflect upon the signals that our senses are sending us. Everything we will know comes directly from our senses.
Well, thank you both for giving such thoughtful responses to those questions. Let's try to move on to a different issue now that is also of great importance to all of our viewers watching here today. How are we to live a moral life? And we'll start with you, Mr. Locke.
That is certainly not a very easy question to answer. I spent most of my life searching for an answer to that very question, and my best conclusions, I believe, come from my theory on natural law. When it comes to the issue of morality, I will have to say that reason is the primary source for humans to understand moral rules. It is through reasoning that we can discover the divine nature of morality and that moral rules are obligatory.
Interesting. So basically, you think that we should simply know what is right and wrong through our use of reasoning? That is quite similar to what Plato said before when we were discussing knowledge.
I will concede that this aspect of my philosophy is similar to that of Plato's. However, my philosophy on morality is much more centered around an obligation to divine authority. Yes, I believe we all know what the moral rules are because we know which actions would please God and which would displease Him. Moral obligation is a matter, for me, of obedience to the rightful authority of God. The moral rules that we should follow in our lives are a clear expression of God's will.
Well, thank you, Mr. Locke. Let's give Plato an opportunity to respond with the same answer or question. How do we live a moral life?
Thank you again for the question, and I would like to thank Mr. Locke for some of the kind words he just gave me. To answer the question, I also believe that reasoning is a good place to start when it comes to morality. I have come to believe through my studying that over and above anything that can be known with our senses exists entities that give complete understanding of values. These entities are what I have come to call the forms, and they provide us the knowledge of what is best. Every object or quality that exists within reality has its own unique form. Through our ability to reason, we can discover the form of the good, which will tell us what action is truly just.
That certainly is a very intellectual approach to that question, but there has been more to it than just that.
Thankfully, you are correct. There is a lot more. If you recall from earlier in the interview, I mentioned the soul played a role in the attainment of knowledge. I have also come to believe that the soul plays an important role in morality. I now know that the soul consists of 3 separate parts: reason, spirit, and appetite. Each part of the soul is clamoring for more attention, but the soul is at its best when it is in a state of harmony. To keep the soul in harmony, one must let reason take over and subdue the other 2 parts. The harmonious soul is also the just soul, which will help us lead to happiness and a correct moral guidance.
That is a very rational sounding answer. Once again, I would like to thank both of our guests, Plato and John Locke, for coming in to talk with us today and providing some interesting information to think about. So our last guest today will be Neo. Neo is the star from the 1999 film The Matrix. The movie is about a simulated reality known as The Matrix. Neo is one of the main characters in the science fiction action film and was faced with a very difficult situation. The situation involved swallowing a blue pill or a red pill. The blue pill would allow Neo to stay in a fabricated dream world known as the Matrix, and the red pill would allow him to escape the Matrix and return to the real world. For all of us who have seen the movie, we now know that Neo chooses the blue pill, but why?
That's a very good question. I chose to swallow the blue pill because I felt that something was just completely out of whack with the life I was living. I felt like there was something else out there for me, so I took the chance. I swallowed the blue pill in order to escape the life I was living and to see if there was another reason for my existence.
Oh, that's very interesting. So do you regret taking the blue pill, or do you wish you had swallowed the red pill so that you would never have been introduced to the Matrix?
I definitely don't regret being introduced to the Matrix. The real world was a complete blur to me. I felt left out, and I just didn't have a special place. The Matrix felt like home to me. I was needed there in order to get something accomplished. Morpheus always told me I was the one. Although I didn't believe him at first, I definitely found somewhere to call home by the end.
Would you ever leave the Matrix if you were given the choice?
That's hard to decide. There are 2 completely different worlds. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world where there are no consequences for any mistakes. Everything I know was imported into my brain. In the real world, we learn from our mistakes and from our experiences. It's what defines us as a person. They both have their own advantages and disadvantages. But as of now, I feel more comfortable and wanted in the Matrix.
Do you believe you have free will within the Matrix?
I began to question free will after the Oracle told me to watch out for the vase. I had no clue what she was talking about until I knocked it over. If she knew what was going to happen, do we really have free will, or is our life already planned out for us? When I was in the real world, I never questioned my free will because I was making my own decisions on my own. So I thought, maybe our life is planned out for us, and we always lean towards the decisions God wants us to pick. He has determined our fate and life path.
Do you think that one day we will all become part of the Matrix, or will they continue to be two separate worlds?
How do we know that we aren't already living within a matrix? When I look around the real world, I see all these people so involved with the technology these days. People can't walk from place to place without their face buried in their phones. Technology is at the palm of everyone's hands. It's always there when they need it. It has come to be somewhat controlling, just how the technology was controlling me in the Matrix, just to a different degree. We all could be living within the Matrix. We just haven't come to grips with it yet.
I've never thought of it that way. Well, I would love to chat more, but it looks like our time is up here today, so I would like to thank all of our special guests and you too, Mio, for coming in for the show today. Tune in next week for our new special guest, and have a wonderful day, everyone.